start getting locked in here, we now know that it is not a support Karma. Very likely it's going to be up towards that top lane for Revenge. There is a possibility of playing it in different roles. I have seen very rarely in solo queue, mid lane Karma, even farming Karma. But my guess is with Alistar locked in, it probably means it's top lane for Revenge, and they'll throw a couple bans the way of Ssumday. Feels like pretty much anytime Hecarim comes through, Shen is going to get banned out for the top lane if that's not already picked. So it's going to be the choice. And interesting to see 100 Thieves still banning out top laners. So not convinced that the Karma is actually going to go up there.
Okay, Shen's banned away, Camille's banned away. What else do we have coming out from Immortals here? Remember that we still have to see an AD carry from them as well, but that pool is not being focused at all. Considering Kaisa has already been drafted, Tristana has already been banned, those kind of feel like the S tiers right now, so 100 Thieves are not really concerned about banning any others away for the time being. Instead, they will continue to focus on those top lane possibilities with Irelia banned out along with the Gnar from Immortals.
So it feels like they're assuming that this is mid lane Karma then, is the read that I'm getting, because you're double banning top lane with Karma and Alistar showing, right? So I'm assuming they're thinking that it is going to be going towards Insanity. Draven would be a pretty strong answer in lane towards the Kaisa if you want to get really, really aggressive here. But it's going to be Vayne. So we have seen Vayne come out a couple times now this split. It has usually been into very heavily frontline teams with an Alistar, try to actually deny that engage. You can do kind of a similar thing against Rell, where you're trying to actually condemn the dismount, the engage they're coming through from the Rell. But when Rell has R available, it becomes so hard to actually react to the flash RW. Like, you can get snapped in pretty much immediately, especially with Hecarim Fear on top, with the potential of the Shockwave. I don't really like this this Vayne pick into this sort of draft. It's not one of those juicy games where we saw like Mundo Jungle and all of these kind of just like slower moving, big beefy frontliners that you have time to attack. It feels like while Vayne can knock down this team pretty quickly, at the same time, you're always within that range of threat, right? You're always within the range of Shockwave or potential Rell combo or potential Fear from the Hecarim, which can make it so difficult to play out. And it is going to be Gragas top for Ssumday. They're not sure what is going to be going top lane, and they just want to have something pretty safe.
Okay, Gragas makes sense. Remember, we are on patch 11.5 here, which I believe was one of the ones that included some Gragas nerfs. Yes,
it did.
This
the
was
Q
where
mana
Gragas,
cost. It went way up.
Mana cost 80 at all ranks on the Q. So that just means that Gragas will be more taxed in terms of his sustain there in the lane, constantly being able to shove things out and make it so that he can always have just that solidarity there in that top side. But let's see how Immortals draft finishes up here. It's Lucian in the mid lane, it's Karma top, and that is how Immortals are playing this one. So Azael, compared to the previous draft we saw between these two teams, how are we feeling about this matchup?
I mean, this is wildly different. This is all about 5v5 on both sides, right? There's no one that really wants to split push whatsoever. Of course, you can play side lanes a little bit, like, maybe as a Vayne or something. But generally speaking, this is just straight up 5v5. It's going to be largely down to, I think, the initial engage from the 100 Thieves side. They have exceptionally powerful initial engage when you're looking at Gragas, Rell, Hecarim, all of these champions. If you hit the initial combo, you can burst down potentially these double marksmen. But if they are able to use, the Udyr and the Alistar to disengage or counter engage on that and keep their double marksman alive, you have the Karma, who's likely going to be building, Moonstone Ardent Sensor, a supportive style build, who's going to be shielding up and enabling this Lucian and Vayne to try to run over the fight. And I think most of these fights you're going to see decided one way or the other almost right off the bat.
Yeah, Lucian and Vayne just being the firepower for this team. I don't expect Karma to be some sort of an AP build, the full support approach like you're talking about with Moonstone and Ardent, just to guarantee maximum healing, maximum shielding, maximum survivability for these two to survive that wombo. Because on the enemy squad, it's 4 divers and an Orianna that can strap the ball to one of those divers for the ulti. So that combo potential with those 5 champions is a death sentence for either Lucian or Vayne if they get caught out. Remember that both these marksmen, while having a lot of damage potential, especially as things move on, have very limited range.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it is going to be difficult to play that out. One of the other things that I think makes it more complicated is the fact that because we're expecting Karma to go full support, you don't have a true AP threat, right? So it's going to be armor stacking on Hecarim, armor stacking on Gragas, armor stacking on Rell. Could even go towards, I think an early Seekers makes a lot of sense for Ryoma. So you get
tons.
A lot of efficiency out of the itemization here. Of course, yes, Vayne does deal a lot of true damage, but I think it is a difficult game to play for Vayne, given that there is so much engage, there is so much lockdown. If you do get caught whatsoever, you can pretty much just be instantly dead. But if 100 Thieves can kite it out, if they can absorb that engage, avoid the engage, then I do think there is the opportunity for them to, win fights while kiting back or potentially even chasing down afterwards. But it seems like a tough comp to play. I would much rather be on the 100 Thieves side of this one.
Yeah, if the Vayne is able to stay alive and survive that initial engage, Hecarim, Gragas, Rell, I mean, all these champions, very, very tanky, but you can only be so tanky against percent HP true damage, especially as she builds up items going forward in the game. You eventually get to the point where if Vayne has 4 items, 6 autos, and you're either dead or you're forced out of the fight, and you might as well be dead. So
pretty much.
Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you build. You can have 6 Thornmails, 6 autos, nope, go home.
Yeah, so, I generally feel like, honestly, at 2 items, Vayne is just pretty much a monster. You don't really need much more than that. Of course, it can get more extreme, but, when you're on your Mythic plus a Rage Blade, that alone generally makes it feel like you can just shred through tanks incredibly fast. It's just, can you stay safe from Body Slam Flash, from the Hecarim ultimate fearing you in, from Flash RW? Like, there's just so many things that can catch you, but you have to move yourself forward into range of those to really be doing anything, to be getting damage out in these fights. They don't really have a tremendous amount of poke or damage that can go out safely, right? It's, Lucian and Vayne autoing for the most part. You're going to have Karma who can throw out some Qs, but given that we're expecting support, it shouldn't be really that threatening. So it will be interesting to see if they can do it. I do think it's a pretty high barrier of execution. They do have the Udyr, though, which is really, really strong and for the most part, hasn't really been getting through drafts in a long time because on 11-4 it was pretty much permabanned. But this is one of those drafts where, Immortals on red side didn't want to double ban, didn't want to triple ban jungle. They actually changed from the previous draft that we had to remake, banned out the Renekton, and decided to just leave up 2 of the jungle OPs and make a trade. And you kind of put in this interesting situation as a result.
Yeah, and looking at the Udyr nerfs on 11.5, just so we can point out the differences between permaban Udyr and this Udyr who has made it through the draft. The total damage on Phoenix Stance is down over the course of the entirety of the aura when he transforms into that. So instead of 275 damage over 4 seconds at max rank, it'll only be 240, so a bit of a hit there. And then his health per level was reduced by 7. So 7 times 18 is 126. So he'll lose about a ruby crystal's worth of health over the course of the entire game. So not incredible nerfs. He should still be pretty powerful, but just not quite what he was.
Yeah, his win rate didn't go down a tremendous amount. It did get hit fairly significantly, but because he was already a really high win rate champion, because he's already exceptionally powerful, you can still get done a lot of what you could get done before. Of course, there are situations where the nerfs are going to make a difference, but overall, as far as competitive play, it's a really fast farmer. It's an extremely tanky champion. He can solo objectives up very, very easily. His clear is really healthy as well, which is also important in LCS. And generally speaking, you just don't see any champions that have a really dangerous clear or really slow clear because getting through the jungle so fast is just so important. But we made it! We're
here! We did it! We're back on Summoner's Rift and we're ready to go for our 3rd game of the day. It's 100 Thieves in the blue corner versus Immortals in the red. Let's do it!
Okay, so it's Ghost as well as Phase Rush for both of the junglers here. So this should be interesting. We know that Hecarim is going to be going for the chem tank. You can assume the same here for Xerxe. Given that he actually does have Ghost and Phase Rush of his own and the ability to just spam out Bear Stance, you definitely do not want to run into this guy as Hecarim early on. I don't think there's any way Hecarim will be winning any of those fights whatsoever. Which could make that thing a little bit more difficult for him. But going to be interested to see how Insanity does. He got counterpick mid, went towards the Lucian. We've seen Pobelter have quite a lot of success on it in 2 out of his 3 games. So perhaps trying to replicate a little bit of that here.
Okay, Destiny doing what all Alistar players do and just banging on the cowbell here before everything spawns. Looks like junglers will start at opposite sides of the map for their blue buffs, just making sure they can continue spamming those abilities as they move throughout the jungle. We know that both Hecarim and Udyr are exceptional as long as they can just keep that spam going there. Back here in the mid lane, Ryoma versus Insanity. Remember, Ryoma's the one that so much conversation is around, right? Like, this is the replacement that a lot of fans were like, wait, why is Ryoma coming in instead of Damonte? They're clearly wanting to play more of Ryoma's style as opposed to Damonte's style, where Damonte really wants to roam to side lanes a lot. Whenever we've seen his biggest, baddest moments, that's always what he's doing. Whereas Ryoma seems to be more of the safe control mage type of player.
That has been the MO thus far, but he did have a really successful style this game and was going to be going towards TF before we had a remake, so has some other tricks up his sleeve. But at the same time, we'll see how he's going to match up here against Insanity. Insanity, in his time in the LCS, I think has looked fairly promising. Hasn't always come together for him, though. He's been in these situations where he's had a lot of almost and not quites. When you think back, especially to the last split, where there was a lot of games where it felt like he was so close to carrying, but couldn't quite execute in those final moments. But it's been good to see that he hasn't actually lost that aggression, that he still kind of has his killer instinct, because I do think that's so important for any developing player. You've got to be able to have the confidence to look for these plays. Just because they don't pan out early on doesn't mean that you're not going for the right play. You've got to have the confidence that you can actually execute on that. And at the same time, we see, again, more trading here between Insanity. He's trying to actually reset the wave and go back early here. He's already spent all his corrupting potions, is going to get the nice kill on the ward, but Ryoma on the other side wants to hold the wave to try to force Insanity to either stay around or potentially get a bit of a bad recall here with the wave pushing away from him. So they're going to be fighting heavily for this. Insanity is basically trying to tax Ryoma's mana, where Ryoma is attacking the health of Insanity, trying to leave the wave in a bad spot, but it's thinned out enough at this point that it will push back to the Immortals side, so you can go for that early recall. Up here in the top lane, Revenge against Ssumday. Ssumday just trying to withstand the onslaught in the early levels. It's really when you're having the most difficult time, to be honest, against someone like this Karma, when you are playing that top lane Karma, especially when they're going for that supportive style. When you get some items under your belt, you really become too tanky for the Karma to really be able to attack very much. But the early levels can be difficult if you take too many autos, if you take too many Qs to the face. Karma can get an advantage, sometimes cash out on plates, but Ssumday doing pretty well so far. And with the expected mana nerfs, you're thinking that he will probably build towards a tier and just try to compensate for that with that little build path change, perhaps. And I think beyond that, it's not going to make too much of a difference because those changes are really early game focused. But Huhi, Insanity uses his dash. Huhi's going to be going in.
And Insanity gets away from it, using the flash to stay alive. The man survives the gank, but a nice rotation from the 100 Thieves support early on gets the summoner spell from Immortals mid laner.
Perfect. Nicely done. Going to be able to get the flash out there. Glad to have you back. And back here in the bot lane.
I believe
looks like they're setting up a bit of freeze.
Okay, Ssumday going in for the trade onto Revenge up here in the top side. Revenge with that Summon Airy, likely to be that Moonstone Renewer build that we were talking about earlier. Ssumday here on the Gragas, slightly behind in terms of farm, but look at all the extra minions he has to pick up, so that should make this lane break just about even as that collides with the turret. Jungle checkup now. As you can see, the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, such a popular choice for so many junglers to rush these days. Going after that on your first back, getting the extra movement speed, as well as the incredibly powerful ability haste early on. And Closer will go after this first Drake of the game with help from Huhi here once more.
Yeah, nicely done. Going to be able to grab this dragon, no problem. They have the push in mid lane. They have the push in bot. So they're going to be able to use this despite the fact that Udyr would have prio in that 1v1. It's about the lanes and the setup that 100 Thieves had. So going to be grabbing the dragon here for themselves. Ssumday getting low on mana, so should be forced back to base here pretty soon, but wants to be able to clear out the wave first, and likely will TP back on this next wave.
Down here in bottom lane, 100 Thieves maintaining control over the push. Gold's still very close between the two squads. It's not like anybody's building up any huge laning advantages thus far, but Xerxe here in the bottom side. Destiny with a flash engage and FBI with a flash disengage. Now you've got Huhi trying to escape here. Xerxe continues the chase, but with a TP showing up, it's 100 Thieves who wants to turn it right back around. Destiny's got to be careful here as he tries to walk it back out. Revenge gets the tether down and forces the flash away from Ssumday. Revenge having a level 6 compared to just the level 5 of Ssumday means he's the more powerful top laner rotating into this one. Immortals brought everybody down, but nobody's dead on either side.
Yeah, no one's dies on either side. We're going to have to see how the wave actually shakes out on the top side. It looks like it will crash, so it should be really good for Revenge. You know, Ssumday went back to base. He was the one getting pushed in, so he TP's bot lane, which I think was a pretty good play. But because of the way that the wave was actually set up, he had to TP away from a bad wave, and it actually crashed and it will push out away to his opponent. So he lost a lot of the minions at the tower there, and as a result is now down 10 CS, so just about those 2 waves. And will be potentially available to you know, push up here, and we'll see if they want to try to pressure him as he does, because as his next wave groups up, it's going to push towards revenge, and Ssumday could be somewhat vulnerable not having his flash or TP now.
Yeah, Ssumday, no summoner spells. Here on the Gragas, does have level 6, does have the ulti. Very powerful tool if they try to dive him and they don't have the coordination just perfect between the 2 of them. Closer handing off second blue of the game over to Ryoma to guarantee that his mid laner has as much power in this 1v1 in the mid lane as possible. First Drake secured a couple of minutes ago means we could have a very early potential soul this game, Azael, if 100 Thieves can maintain control over that bottom side river moving forward.
Yeah, and that has been something that Closer really has liked to do. You know, he hasn't been as focused on ganking this split. It's been more about, you know, heavily farming, objective control, trying to push the pace of the game by doing that. And you know, so far, it's worked pretty well for 100 Thieves overall. When you are playing the Hecarim, you're going to be feeling pretty good about being able to get that quick level 6, about being ready for a team fight. So we'll see if they can continue to snowball that, or if Immortals is going to look to try to contest. Because generally speaking, I think that Immortals is going to be pretty happy to fight on one item.
Down here in the bottom lane, it's Closer coming down to make the play. Destiny knows he is dead. He used the flash earlier, and it's first blood for the 100 Thieves jungle.
Nicely done. Going to be able to get that kill, 400 Thieves. I would have liked to see them give it to FBI, though. There's no flash on Destiny. You know that's a guaranteed kill. Give it to your Kaisa. You're going tank Hecarim. Don't really think that it's needed, but going to be able to try to push Raes back here. Did he miss that ward? It looks like it's right on the edge. I'm not sure if it actually gives vision into the brush. I think he might have missed it, but now
like
Closer still has his ultimate, so could try to push on Insanity.
We'll see if they want to make the dive. Insanity gets away from Ryoma, but the horse has arrived, and another kill over to Closer.
Nicely done. Back-to-back kills, get him in the bot lane, get him in the mid lane. The shockwave hit for Ryoma, so that was an easy cleanup on Insanity. Remember, the roam from Huhi is kind of what sets that up, because they forced the flash early on in the game. The flash was still not back here. So cross-map plays, they're really looking good, getting down to the bot lane, finding the first blood here. Raes had a pretty good condemn on the E, just pushing him back, trying to keep Destiny safe, but there's really no way out for their Alistar, knowing he doesn't have the flash, and then straight up towards mid lane, able to make the dive happen. Ryoma landing the shockwave, no flash available for Insanity. He just used the E, so there's no outplaying that whatsoever.
100 Thieves with 2 kills to nothing have a 1,000 gold lead for themselves. 1 minute remaining on the clock until that next Drake spawns. And Huhi rotating around, always looking to be the first one on the play, the first one somewhere else to facilitate something, trusting FBI to just sit down there in the bottom lane, farm it up, not worried about him. And instead, we'll see if they can make a move happen before this next Drake emerges. You can see that the vision has been placed down around the entrances to the Immortals jungle here. Yes, Insanity has that control ward off to his right, but it's up to Destiny to move forward into the river and try to find a little bit more vision, a little bit more control for Immortals if they want to try to fight for this second Drake.
And one thing I will say that's actually really nice about mythic itemization now for tanks is that, you know, in a game like this, you know, in the old seasons, you would still want to stack armor because it's a Vayne and a Lucian, and that's most of their damage, and it's going to be support Karma. But that would mean you'd have no MR whatsoever against the Karma for late. So it's actually pretty nice that there is a bit of a split now. You know, just building towards your first mythic item is going to give you armor, but it also does give you some MR to help deal with the early laning phase. That should help out Ssumday against this Karma quite a bit. And then from there, I expect him to just go pure armor. You know, Thorn Mail, you know, that sort of stuff, and just forgo building any additional MR.
Xerxe back down here in bottom lane, but with Closer showing up, Huhi's going in. They pull back Destiny with FBI charging in with the Killer Instinct. Kill onto Raes before the fight's even able to start up, but Immortals are calling in the backup. Xerxe goes forward looking for the stun. He finds FBI, and the enemy AD carry is the target. Huhi tries to stand and fight, tries to be the front line here, but the boy will fall. Immortals gets back a 1-for-1. Ryoma shows up, but it's too little too late. And that's all this fight is going to be, an even trade on both sides.
It is the 1-for-1. Ssumday now in the area, though, and he is kind of potentially in a flanking position. We'll see if 100 Thieves want to go up and try to contest for this, but it looks like both teams just going to reset, wait for their additional member to come back here. So no dragon even attempted off the back of that. We'll see if 100 Thieves are just going to reset and then run straight back to the dragon and try to start it up here one more time. Ssumday does have his teleport now, and he has that teleport a little bit earlier than Revenge. So if he just goes up straight towards topside, answers the Karma, it should be pretty much a free dragon for them if they have that TP timer right down.
Back down in bottom lane, it's up to Raes to just keep on farming. We saw how he exploded when focused in the bottom lane, and here you go once more with Huhi's initiation.
Yeah, and honestly, Raes reacted really fast. Like, he instantly flashed away, but still, Huhi comes through and he still has the ultimate up. He's still able to connect with the attract repel, get on top of that Vayne. It is very difficult to create that space as the Vayne, and the counterplay was there, as Insanity was a lot faster on the roam than Ryoma. 100 Thieves going to be starting this up. The teleport is available for Karma, but with Udyr in mid lane, with Karma in mid lane, they're not going to contest this, so 100 Thieves will take their second dragon straight.
All right, summoned the Rift Herald here in mid lane. Immortals are looking to get some gold here out of the turret plates. The dragon goes over to the side of 100 Thieves, so Closer picking that one up here for the second time for his team. And 100 Thieves will continue just maintaining this slight gold lead. Immortals trying to close the gap a little bit with that Rift Herald. Now a 1v1 between the mid laners will not turn into much of anything as they both walk away.
Yeah, it's just going to be backing off there. But Immortals trading gold for the dragon, going to be able to get the plates. But the problem is 100 Thieves are actually winning in both. They're up gold, they're up dragons. Raes gets a nice little trade that potentially dissuades a dive coming through there onto Hecarim, but not going to mean much more than that. And it's interesting, where Raes is going to go here. I'm curious if he's going to go towards Shield Bow. You can see that he's playing overheal, or will he feel like he needs Kraken Slayer to really punch through this team? It's a tough decision because, oh, nice.
Whoa.
There.
Ssumday with the ulti, knocking Revenge back into the turret. But Revenge can quickly just walk on out. Karma is so difficult to deal with. The healing on the empowered tether, the shield, and the speed up that you can get. The champion is so capable of getting out of those kinds of situations that even though he's knocked back into the turret with no minions, Revenge doesn't even need a summoner spell to walk away.
Going to be able to escape pretty easily there, but you can see Ssumday is taking control of the lane, right? We go back to those earlier bot lane TP plays. Off of that, Ssumday was down 10 CS. Now he's up 20, right? When you hit this certain point when you are doing these supportive builds that the early game is carried just by your champion kit. It doesn't actually matter what build you're going for because you're just on Doran's blades and Doran's rings and whatnot. At this point, the itemization that somebody's going towards is just more effective. The passive from Gragas, once you have some health under your belt, once you have that null magic mantle, you just don't really do anything to him as a supportive style Karma anymore. So Ssumday going to be comfortable in this lane, even has a blue buff to go with that. So going to be able to push this out no problem and going to be able to get to a point where he's incredibly tanky.
Rift Herald up and running here again. 100 Thieves, the ones aggroing this one. They know their opponents were able to get value off of turret plates the first time around. Granted, second Herald doesn't quite do the same considering we're already past the point where the plating has fallen, but 100 Thieves still could get some big usage out of this one, taking the first turret of the game. Despite the fact that Immortals got that plate money, the entirety of the turret was not taken down, so the first gold bonus is still on the table.
Yep, and Raes is going down to that bottom lane. But as soon as 100 Thieves realized that wasn't going to be a full contest, they just sent their players back to their lanes. So FBI will miss a little bit. He's probably going to lose maybe 2 minions there, but he should be able to collect the rest. And it looks like he'll probably only even lose the 1 minion. So in a pretty good spot. Raes with the pickaxe is going to be going towards Kraken Slayer. So he's not going Shield Bow, which I think would be my preferred route in this game. I do think that this is higher risk, higher reward. But given how much engage and how much CC there is over on the 100 Thieves side, I just don't feel like you can outplay a lot of it, right? Like, it doesn't really matter what you do. I don't think that you can avoid everything from Gragas and Hecarim and Rell and Orianna. So, the Shield Bow to me gives you enough of a pad that sometimes you can survive, lifesteal through a lot of that initial damage and then potentially turn it around. And Vayne's DPS is so high anyway that it doesn't feel like you need the Kraken Slayer. So we'll see if it pays off for Raes. I mean, if he can position perfectly and avoid the engage, then he'll definitely shred them with this more aggressive build.
All right, checking in on the overall state of the game. Still very close, man. 2 Drake lead is the biggest difference here between the squads, as 100 Thieves have about 70 seconds before that next Drake spawns. If they grab this one, it immediately puts them at Soul Point and will force an answer out of Immortals. And although it's a Cloud Soul, this is a team that can do quite a lot with a Cloud Soul bonus. The flat movement speed, of course, is great, but especially the movement speed after ultis. When you have ults like Kaisa, like Rell, like Hecarim, that is a huge bonus in a team fight.
It's huge. I agree. And I think that as a result, we should be seeing Immortals fight for this. You know, they have their mythics completed, except for the support role where it's not going to be completed on the other side either. I feel like this is a pretty good window to try to scrap. I think that on Moonstone, you're already very effective as this Karma, and you have the Moonstone, you have double marksman, buff them up, shield them up, and try to get value from your super effective builds, you know, early on in this game. We'll see if this does finish it off. It's going to be close, not quite to get the kill. And I gotta say, I don't love the timing, right? If it's not actually enough to kill the tower, wait until the dragon spawns, then drop it to actually draw their attention over towards that mid lane, as we're gonna have a little bit of a tickle fight up here in top lane.
Karma Q with not a lot of AP versus Gragas auto-healing whenever he takes a swig. Ends up being a difference of probably about 10 damage to his health bar.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like, even if you deal decent upfront damage, he just backs off and presses W a couple times. He's back to full. Immortals, though, on the dragon, but I think you want the Karma here, and they are going to be TPing now. We'll see. Okay. It's going to be all about the engage. Can 100 Thieves find that perfect engage? They've got to be getting it right off the bat, and Ryoma's very low on mana. That's actually pretty big here.
And remember as well, the Gragas is ready to go here. Huhi jumps in for the initiation. Xerxe there in the front line. Dragon going to be taken very low. It's secured over by the side. 100 Thieves, but they end up losing the fight so far. Huhi's already been killed. Xerxe on the chase. Insanity still looking for the chance for maybe a little bit more damage. But all in all, that's a Drake for 1 kill, and 100 Thieves will take that trade.
They'll definitely take that trade, especially since it was just the support kill. Destiny, though, pick here on closer potentially.
Destiny really wanting to make a move happen with that one, but a nice shockwave over the wall from Ryoma. Yes, his mana pool was very taxed going into that, but he still had enough left for the ultimate, and it puts Destiny in a spot where he cannot end up getting a kill for that play he tried to make.
It is interesting because he had enough mana there. I'm not sure if he actually had enough mana to use his combo when Huhi engaged. That's one thing. It would have been very close. You know, if he had enough, he would have just barely had enough. Because if you actually look at his mana, he used his Q to move the ball. That's it. Look at his mana pool right now. Is that enough to do an RW? I'm actually not sure. It would be really, really close. It is enough now as he got a little bit back. I'm not sure if that was from a biscuit or what, but very on the edge. Either way, 100 Thieves coming out on top there. They do grab themselves the dragon, put themselves a soul point, and Immortals really are going to have to win this next fight, or it's pretty much going to be doomed, I think, against the composition that 100 Thieves have. When you give them the Cloud Soul to boot, it feels so incredibly hard to fight out of that situation.
But Immortals still do have a very close game state, ignoring the Dragons. If we're just looking at the gold overall of the players, the gold that Immortals have, they've kept this game incredibly close here. And we do know how powerful a Moonstone champion can be in a team fight, right? If Revenge is able to get multiple instances of damage, multiple procs off on that Moonstone, the healing, the shielding, the defensive power of that champion can do a lot of work in a 5v5.
And if you can get towards Ardent, like I think Ardent is definitely the play this game over, you know, Moonstaff, the more standard build. Staff of Flowing Water, I think, has a lot less value here. When you have Lucian, when you have the Vayne, you want to be going towards the Ardent, but the gold is going to be going more in the favor of 100 Thieves. They just knocked down 2 of those turrets, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to that next fight. As you said, they have the ability to win those fights, but a lot of that depends on getting vision early, right? If you can actually get over to the dragon, clear out the 100 Thieves vision, be the first ones to the play, have pink wards behind you, covering your flanks from any potential TP flank or anything like that, then it's definitely winnable. But it's difficult to walk into an area like that and not have some sort of angle uncovered, not have somewhere that Ssumday or Closer could be coming from. And if that happens and Vayne or Lucian get caught by the initial engage, they likely will not live to have any sort of a follow-up.
Back up here in top side, you can see that things continue. Business as usual. Neither one of these top laners really being able to make a dent. and the other one's turret. This is the definition of the wet noodle fight up here between these two, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Meanwhile, on the other end of the map, you can see FBI just completing his second big item with the Collector. Still no second item there for Raes, but when that happens, I do want to make sure we look at that and where that is on the clock, because you're the one who said, Isaac, in the draft, once Vayne hits those 2 items, you're in trouble if you're the one getting shot by this champion. Once you have the Rage Blade with Kraken Slayer put together especially, anybody that she gets to free fire on is under serious threat.
They really are. It's just a matter of if you can actually have enough space to attack, right? And that's always the question. That's always the difficulty with Vayne. No one ever doubts the amount of damage this champion can put out. It's just, can you actually position effectively without dying and still dealing damage? And also the biggest question for me is, can he get enough gold in his pockets to complete the Rage Blade for the soul fight, right? Because you have a minute 10 right now, and I think that's why they're giving him mid lane wave. That's why he's farming the jungle camps. They know they gotta get to 2 items here on Raes prior to that fight, because that is going to be such an incredible burst of power for him, and he still needs some more gold to get there. FBI is already on 2 items. Ryoma's already on 2 items. You can see Insanity is on 2 of his own, and Revenge has completed his. He did decide to not go with the Ardent Sensor. Is just going to be prioritizing the Staff of Flowing Water there. And the move speed, of course, is still useful for Insanity and Raes, but I do think that Ardent Sensor is sometimes kind of overlooked, and this build can be just kind of defaulted to a lot of times.
30 seconds till the 4th Drake of the game and the possibility of a soul for the side of 100 Thieves. Immortals are all around. They have all 5 players here, not depending on a teleport this time. They want to make sure everybody's ready at the very start. Moving around as a unit, a big old clump off to the side to approach from a different angle. Ssumday's still at mid. If Immortals find a chance to fight here, they have a 5v4 without Ssumday's immediate interaction. Drake is still 5 seconds away. Immortals controlling the area for now. Closer approaching from the top angle. Destiny sitting in the brush on top of the control ward, making sure he's able to zone Closer away. Closer now separated from the rest of the team. Devastating charge, wanting to get all the way back out. Raes taking the damage. A nice shockwave coming through. Raes is already down. Insanity about to follow. 100 Thieves taking the fight here, but a nice 4-man pulverize buys a little bit more time. There's your damage. There's your wombo. There's your combo. Double kill over to FBI, and they are not done yet. Ssumday with a flash, and he throws out the ulti and tells him to have a drink. Triple kill for FBI, and a massive team fight win earns 100 Thieves a Cloud Soul.
This is Soul, and I want to see if they're going to run up towards Baron after it. They don't have to if they don't feel like they want to risk it, but geez, there's still 20 seconds with Xerxe dead, 25 on Revenge. I think this should be Baron for them as well. And we'll get to see it one more time in the Honda performance play. Closer going around. Immortals trying to collapse onto him. And Raes did a good job, you know, with the self-peel, with the early flash, but it's so tough to actually avoid that engage. You know, he flashes away from the engage from Huhi, but the Rell ultimate pulls you in from both sides. So even though he clears the distance to get to the other side of the Rell, he still gets snapped back in, still gets CC'd up, and goes down immediately, even using the flash there, Insanity flashing away to survive. But that is always the concern. The engage is so powerful on the 100 Thieves side, and you have this mid to low range double marksman composition, that how do they stay safe away from that engage and also deal damage? And that's the question that Immortals are going to have to answer if they want to have any chance in this game, because now you're down 4,000 gold. The engage became even more powerful with the Cloud Soul, and the gold lead likely is going to extend here during this Baron buff.
Good on Insanity for finding as much damage as he did in the previous fight, but when you compare those damage bars on that graph, really, he's the standout for Immortals that was able to have that output in that previous fight. The rest of it was just 100 Thieves controlling everything. They've got the Soul, they've got the Baron, 4,000 gold leads about to become 5 with that mid lane tier 2 turret falling. There's still 2 turrets to take in the top lane outside of the base. Ssumday's finally getting the opportunity to take down that tier 1 turret that stood for so long here in this game. And 100 Thieves can now collect the tier 2 in the bottom lane, tier 2 in the top lane, and just pick up all this freestanding gold across the map.
And Rageblade does come through now for Raes, but the problem is FBI got paid there. He got a triple kill. They got the Baron. They're getting towers. He bought a full extra item, right? He's on PD now, so you're still 1 full item behind the curve here as Raes. Plus, they're picking up all these extra towers. Like you said, the gold lead is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger here. It is going to be so incredibly hard for Immortals to really get anything done, I think, from this point in the game. And 100 Thieves have just played a really strong game, controlled it feels like pretty much start to finish, and executed on everything they need to execute on. So Immortals now will need a bit of a miracle. You know, there's got to be some sort of incredible engage really from Destiny. He's the only one that is playing a champion that has some sort of X factor, it feels like. You know, Udyr running in and bear slapping you, it's not going to do it, right?
No.
You know, it's got to be Destiny catching multiple people. But here's the problem. He's level 8. Ryoma's 16. FPI's 14. Like, you're just going to instantly die after your combo. So you pretty much have to be perfect with that engage for it to mean anything when you're that far down in XP.
And with the Baron buff, that means that 100 Thieves get to take their first inhibitor of the game without a fight breaking out. The entire time, Ssumday was split pushing in the mid lane, setting things up to take down the second inhibitor turret of the game immediately thereafter. With inhibitor number 2 under fire, Immortals have to make the decision. Do you want to fight for this? Do you want to go in?
They have flash. They can't.
It looks like it's a no. They're trying. You can see Xerxe constantly moving back and forth, looking for any sort of an angle, but it's just not there, and 100 Thieves get 2 in his.
I mean, it's so brutal because you don't have any of your playmaking tools, right? You know, Alistar is the only one who could do anything. He has no flash. Insanity and Raes both used their flash in the previous fight. Ryoma didn't use his flash. FEI didn't use his flash. Huhi didn't use his flash. Like, they won the fight so heavily and didn't have to spend the resources, right? So Immortals is just behind in all regards. If you try to go for that engage and there's no flash in either your carries, pretty much guaranteed who's going to catch you with a flash RW and be able to combo you in for a shockwave, and that would just be GG. So they make the tough call to just give up the double inhib. They can just have a bunch of gold funnel into them, somehow keep that third inhib alive, and maybe make a miracle comeback. But it's looking like 100 Thieves have this pretty much all wrapped up.
Ssumday goes for the ulti here as he did an angle to get some damage down onto the big front line of 100 Thieves. But that tier 2 turret in the top lane is now under fire. Super minions marching down the other 2 lanes where the inhibitors have already fallen. 100 Thieves with that Baron got so much value out of it with the 2 inhibs. They don't even need another Baron before they can pressure into the enemy base. You can see it's still longer than 3 minutes before either one of those inhibitors respawn. And when you're Immortals in this situation, those 3 minutes feel like an eternity. And for 100 Thieves, they're now just pushing straight up into inhibitor turret number 3. Xerxe on the front line, buying a little bit of time. Yes, he hits Huhi just a little bit, but not really enough to make a big dent in him. Revenge will chase away the enemy jungler, but now the push continues. They're just committing to this for a little bit of extra damage here. They will need the minion wave. They need to remove the backdoor protection with the power of the minions here. Super minions in the meantime applying pressure onto the Nexus turrets as 100 Thieves.
They gotta go this wave, otherwise they're just gonna lose the tower.
Yep, they're continuing the march right now. Immortals looking for any sort of a chance to stop and try to fight. Xerxe here on the front line once more with the Udyr, but Udyr is not an army himself. Closer used the Ghost back there just in case Immortals committed. He wanted to be ready to immediately respond. Demolish proc just about ready to put some more damage here into the tier 3 turret at top lane. 100 Thieves are not giving up. It is a slow but steady process wearing down this tier 3 turret. Couple auto attacks coming in. Xerxe starting off the fight here in the middle of everybody, but a very nice Ssumday ulti with a follow-up shockwave onto Destiny. Onslaught of shadows into the back line, and 100 Thieves keeps it up. Huhi with the ulti jumping into the remaining players. Insanity taking the damage. FBI taking the kill. 100 Thieves taking the fight, but they lose their AD carry. Raes is able to fight back. He's shooting everybody to pieces. The Vayne was not focused, and the damage is coming down.
Oh, no.
Raes might just die here at the very end, but a shield at the last possible moment. It keeps it going. It keeps Immortals alive. The karma peel is real, and Immortals will hold the line.
It's the Vayne dream. The byline ace for Immortals there, and the Elder is up, so they can actually go get Elder right now as well. You gotta leave someone to defend your base. So they will go back to that. They're gonna lose their Nexus towers otherwise. Raes coming up huge for the team here. We watch the Bud Light ace one more time. The initial play does look good. They get the kill onto Xerxe, but they committed so many spells. Notice Shockwave just on Destiny. You know, the Hecarim ult into the backline just on Destiny. The engage comes through. Everyone is piling onto Insanity though. So FBI flashes forward and gets condemned against the wall there by Raes, who's able to kite back towards the Nexus, turn it around. almost kind of threw here a little bit as he kind of, I don't know exactly what that was. It looked like, honestly, just a misclick on a move command, moving a little bit too far forward, getting hit by the Rell stun, but still playing it very, very well overall, kiting it out, getting the triple, keeping their hopes alive. He's got a PD off the back of that, but 100 Thieves are on the Baron, and their top lane inhibitor did die to minions, so Immortals got triple inhibited.
Immortals with no inhibitors standing, but
gone.
the bottom and mid lane inhibitors respawning in under 1 minute. Baron goes over to 100 Thieves here for the second time this game. They still have a lead, they still have a Cloud Soul, and they have a lot of map control here for the next couple minutes.
Really, it's going to be for 100 Thieves, just play safe until the Elder ends, and then you should just be able to walk in Baron waves in all 3 lanes and probably just win. There is a window, though, for Immortals while you have that Elder to potentially find a team fight win, right? The Elder buff is so powerful that maybe gives you enough of an edge to get something done, but as soon as that expires, I expect 100 Thieves to be full court press, push in all the lanes here with the Baron buff, knock down those inhibitors that are going to be respawning in mid and bot, and just push in all the supers, and it becomes this difficult situation for Immortals where you're so busy trying to kill off Baron buff minions that you can't deal with them and the enemy champions at the same time.
It's all about Raes. If this guy can stay alive and do what he did in the last fight, Immortals still have a hope. Up to 3.5 items plus the boots. One of the remaining slots also filled with a stopwatch. He's got the power, man. It's possible. Let's see if they can find it. Destiny loses half HP. Xerxe looking to go in. Disengage from Ssumday. Holy cow, his closer fast. Ssumday still also here in the front line, skirting around a little bit. A couple more auto attacks come through. Raes did use Final Hour in that one, so Immortals have to be careful that Vayne does not have nearly her normal team fighting power here for the next 30 seconds or so. 100 Thieves will continue to push down mid lane.
Yep, I mean, Immortals wanted to force because they still have the Elder, right? That's what that is. They're trying to do it. So all 100 Thieves' objective was run away, don't die, wait it out. There's only 15 more seconds on that. And as you answer, look at that wave in top. That is going to kill your Nexus Tower so fast if you don't answer that. But as you go back to answer it, the Elder is expiring, and now 100 Thieves still have a minute on the Baron buff. They can take down all your inhibitors and probably end the game here.
Inhibitor number 1. See you later. Number 2, where's it at? We've still got 2 minutes left on that third one. Up there in the top lane that's been dead as well. 100 Thieves continuing to earn themselves more map pressure by killing off these objectives. Raes stepping forward, but Huhi goes in. Raes is down and the game is over. Shutdown credit over to Ssumday without the Vayne still alive. Nobody's got the damage to win the fight for Immortals. Huhi with the big engage with the snap decision. Kills off the enemy AD carry. Takes down Immortals. And 100 Thieves, there's nothing left to do but walk it into the Nexus. They might pad the stats here a little bit, or wait, they're padding them the wrong way. Either way, it don't matter too much. The game is done. 34 minutes in, it's 100 Thieves. Still looking to have a strong showing here in week 6 and finish the regular season off strong, taking down Immortals.
Moving into a tie for second place. They're only 1 game back of first at this point. Really nicely played there, 400 Thieves. The picture-perfect engage at the end from Huhi, catching both the carries. The Lucian, the Vayne, both go down immediately, and with that, any chance Immortals had of hanging on in that game. I really think this one was very well played, though, from 100 Thieves, start to finish, survive the top lane in that melee versus range matchup. You have incredible engage. They utilize bot lane prio to stack the dragons, focused on that the entire game long, and you forced this double marksman composition to come to you and fight you at that dragon pit where you were going to be able to attack them from multiple angles, which I really thought was the key to their victory.
And there at the very end, too, it just, that final team fight showcased what you had been talking about the entire game. Saying there's no way, no matter how good you play, even if you're a sophisticated sentient AI from 1,000 years into the future just designed to play League of Legends, there's so much engage. There's so much CC. Something's going to hit you. And at the very end, it was Huhi hitting Raes, finding that engage that just sealed Immortals' fate.
Yeah, we did get to see that one team fight win, for Immortals in the base. And that's kind of what they were hoping like all the fights would look like, right? Where you absorb the engage and they don't kill off your main carry, and then you kite back and then you chase them down and you kill them all off. But every other fight went the way of 100 Thieves. because there's just such an overwhelming amount of engage, and you're not playing this long-range carry. It's so difficult to stay safe from that. Immortals, took their shot, but unfortunately will fall. And I'm not sure if that mathematically eliminates them from playoffs, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. Now, 2 games back of 6th place, EG at 9 wins now, and you only have the 2 games remaining. So going to be incredibly difficult if it's not already eliminated.
Well, that's going to do it for Azael and myself. Everyone at home, thank you all so much for sticking with us through the trials and tribulations of